I used to be the guy everyone talked over. The one whose name got skipped in meetings, whose ideas somehow sounded better when someone else repeated them louder. I wasn't poor, I wasn't stupid, I wasn't lazy. I was just invisible. And for a long time I thought that was my fault. I thought if I worked harder, stayed quieter, smiled more, eventually someone would notice. Funny thing is, when people finally did notice, it was already too late for them. Let me take you back to where it really started. The first day I walked into Crestmont Dynamics, I remember gripping my coffee so tight my hand shook. New job, new city. Big glass building, the kind of place that smells like ambition and overpriced cologne. I was hired as a junior operations analyst, which is corporate language for you'll do the work, someone else will take the credit. I didn't know that yet. I just knew I needed the job. That's when I met Ryan. Tall, confident, perfect haircut, voice that carried across the room like it was mic'd. He was my direct supervisor, the golden boy. Everyone laughed at his jokes, even when they weren't funny, especially then. He clapped me on the shoulder that first morning and said, "Don't worry, man. Just keep your head down and do what you're told. You'll be fine." He smiled when he said it, but there was something underneath it. Ownership. At first, it was small things. He'd ask me to pull reports, then present them as his own. He'd interrupt me mid-sentence in meetings, then rephrase my point like it just occurred to him. If I tried to push back, he'd chuckle and say, "Relax, it's just business." And everyone else would nod, like that explained everything. I told myself it didn't matter. I was learning. I was building experience. But then came the late nights, the impossible deadlines, the emails at 11:47 p.m. that started with "quick thing" and ended with "need this before morning." Ryan would stroll in the next day, coffee in hand, talking about his gym session while I looked like I hadn't slept in a week. He'd take the praise. I'd take the silence. The worst part wasn't even Ryan. It was how everyone else followed his lead. Once one person decides you're small, the rest just agree. You become safe to overlook, easy to step on. And yeah, I let it happen longer than I should have. That part's on me. The turning point came on a Tuesday I'll never forget. Quarterly review meeting. Big room. Executives in suits that cost more than my rent. I had spent 3 months developing a cost optimization model that saved the company millions. Millions. Ryan told me not to worry, said he'd handle the presentation. I should have known. As he stood there clicking through my slides using my numbers, my projections, my work, he said something that snapped something inside me. He looked straight at the room and said I came up with a new framework that really changed the game for us. I felt heat rush to my face. My ears were ringing. And for the first time, instead of shrinking, I stood up. Actually stood up. I said his name. Calm. Clear. The room went quiet. "That framework you're talking about," I said, "is the model I submitted to you on March 4th. I have the original files, the timestamps, and the email trail if anyone would like to see them." You could feel the air change. Ryan laughed, tried to brush it off. "Come on, let's not do this here." But it was already happening. One of the executives asked me to continue, so I did. I walked them through everything. Not emotionally. Just facts, dates, numbers, receipts. Ryan stood there smiling stiffly like a man watching ice crack under his feet. After the meeting, he pulled me aside. His voice dropped. "You just embarrassed me in front of the board." I looked at him and said, "You embarrassed yourself. I just stopped covering for you." That should have been the win. It wasn't. Not yet. The retaliation came fast. Bad performance reviews, subtle threats, projects pulled from me, whispers that I was difficult. He tried to bury me quietly the way people like him always do, and this time I didn't react emotionally. I got strategic. I documented everything. Every email, every assignment, every contradiction. I stayed late, not to impress him, but to build a record. I talked to people Ryan thought were beneath him, assistants, analysts, the quiet ones. Turns out I wasn't the only one. 6 months later, the company announced an internal audit. Official reason was process alignment. Unofficial reason, someone had tipped compliance, someone with a very organized folder. The day Ryan was escorted out of the building, no one clapped. No one said a word. He didn't look powerful then. He looked confused, small, like the world had finally spoken back. Here's the part people don't expect. I didn't feel joy. I felt calm, like something heavy had finally been set down. I was offered his role 2 weeks later. I said no. Instead, I moved teams. New leadership, clean slate. Within a year, I was promoted twice. Not because I fought harder, because I finally stopped accepting less. And yeah, sometimes I think about Ryan, about how easy it was for him to believe I'd never push back, how dangerous it is to mistake quiet for weak. So here's my question to you. When someone rises up after being dismissed, is it justice or revenge? And how many talented people do we lose because they're taught to stay silent instead of being heard? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them. And if you've ever been underestimated, remember this. Staying quiet keeps the peace, but speaking up can change the entire room.